everybody. It's Miss Mariah here at the Lucama Library today. So today's pajama story time is going to be about farms. Our first book is called Serious Farm by Tim Egan. Farmer Fred never smiled much. He wasn't a sad fellow, just very serious. Farmin' is serious business, he'd say. Nothing funny about corn. Now, because it was Farmer Fred's farm, all the animals acted like he did, so they were very serious too. When he would say, "There's no humor in tomatoes," they'd all agree. The pigs, the cows, the horses, the chickens, the rabbit, the sheep, all extremely serious. One night, Edna, the cow, said, "We've got to get Farmer Fred to laugh. I mean, it's okay to be serious, but not all the time. We need some laughter." "Must admit," said Bernie the goat, "I wouldn't mind smiling again." He stretched his mouth and showed all his teeth. It wasn't a very convincing smile. They all decided they needed a plan to make the farm more fun. The next morning, as the sun came up, Edna was standing on the fence where Cormac, the rooster, usually stood. She was barely able to keep her balance. She tried to yell, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" But since she was a cow, it didn't come out like that at all. It was the first time anyone had done anything funny in months, so it made all the animals laugh. Farmer Fred just looked out the window and said, "You're not a rooster," and shut the window and went back to sleep. "Wow," said Edna. "This is going to be tougher than I thought." That morning was serious as usual, with Farmer Fred saying things like, "Broccoli's no fun," and "I never laugh at bell peppers." "Okay," said Edna to the others. "Let's try another idea." When Farmer Fred went to feed the pigs that afternoon, they started barking like dogs. Everyone thought it was hilarious, but Farmer Fred. "That's more weird than funny," he said as he walked away. "All right," said Edna, "this isn't working. Let's try something new." They sneaked into the house and took some clothes from Farmer Fred's closet and put them on. It wasn't as easy as it sounds. That evening, as the moon lit up the field, Bernie rang the doorbell. Farmer Fred came out onto the porch and said, "What in the world?" The animals were all dancing around in Farmer Fred's clothes. They were terrible dancers, which actually made it funnier. But Farmer Fred just said, "Better not get my clothes dirty." He walked back inside without smiling. For the next 2 weeks, the animals tried everything they could to make Farmer Fred smile a little, but nothing worked. It got to be very discouraging. One night, the animals met in the barn. "Well, I don't know about you," said Edna, "but I can't take it anymore. I have to live somewhere more fun than this. I'm leaving." They all agreed with Edna and packed up their stuff, which wasn't much, and headed out into the night. The next morning, there was no sound of a rooster or even a cow. Farmer Fred looked outside and saw that all the animals were gone. "Oh no," he said, "all the animals are gone." Farmer Fred became sad immediately. Now, it was one thing to be serious, but it was another thing to be sad. Farmer Fred didn't like the feeling at all. He got into his truck and drove down the road in search of his friends. He went about 4 miles, but there was no sign of them anywhere. Then he heard some laughter in the distance. He followed the sound and saw the animals walking through the woods. He got out of his truck, walked into the forest, and asked, "What's going on here?" "We couldn't stand it," said Edna. "We've tried to cheer you up, but nothing's worked, so we're running away. Well, walking away." The other animals nodded in agreement. "Well, that's no way to solve a problem," said Farmer Fred. "You don't just leave. I mean, sure, I'm serious, but that doesn't mean you have to be. And besides, we're family. I take care of you. I need you. Not to mention that you're safe on the farm. You'd probably be eaten by lions in a day or two out here in the woods." The animals thought about this for a moment. As they whispered to one another about the lion issue, Farmer Fred mumbled, "Cows and chickens running wild in the woods." Edna turned quickly and said, "What was that?" "I think he laughed a little," said Bernie. "Yes," said a chicken, "I heard it. It wasn't much, but he did laugh." "Well," said Edna, "in that case, you're witty enough for us, Farmer Fred. And we care about you, too. I guess we can go back to the farm." The other animals nodded their heads and said things like, "I agree," and "good idea," and "let's go back." They hopped onto the truck and Farmer Fred drove them home. From that day forward, they were able to make Farmer Fred laugh a little more, especially by bringing up the idea of cows and chickens running wild, although he still doesn't see anything funny about corn. The end. Now, from a serious farm to a funny farm. This is Funny Farm by Mark Teague. In the spring, Cousin Judy, Uncle Earl, and Aunt Josephine met Edward at the station. It is Edward's first visit to Hawthorne Farm. In the morning, everyone gets up early. Uncle Earl shows Edward how to milk the cow. Judy helps Edward feed the pigs. Edward gathers eggs from the henhouse. In the woods, Edward helps make maple syrup. Uncle Earl plows the field. Edward digs a hole in the garden. When it rains, Edward goes inside. Judy teaches Edward how to knit. Edward and Judy go outside to tend the sheep. Before supper, Edward paints the barn. Edward is very hungry at dinner. Edward and Judy have fun at the barn dance. It is bedtime at Hawthorne Farm. The end. We have one last book here, and it's called Anywhere Farm by Phyllis Root. For an anywhere farm, here's all that you need: soil and sunshine, some water, a seed. Fat seed or skinny seed, pointy or round, tenderly tuck it down into the ground. Then you watch and you wait. You water, you weed. Your seed will sprout out at its own seedy speed. And you'll have an anywhere farm. Where can you plant your anywhere farm? An old empty lot makes a good growing plot, but a pan or a bucket, a pot or a shoe, a bin or a tin, or a window will do. Plant a farm in a crate, plant a farm in a cup, in a box on a balcony, 10 stories up. Plant a farm in a truck, in a box on a bike. Plant an anywhere farm, anywhere that you like. Anywhere that you have some soil, some seed, some sunshine and water, that's all that you need for your anywhere farm. What can you plant on your anywhere farm? Kale in a pail, corn in a horn. Beets and zucchini, oregano, beans, jicama, broccoli, radishes, greens. Tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, and peas. On your anywhere farm, plant whatever you please. Who might come to visit your anywhere farm? You might see a monarch, a ladybug, bees, hummingbirds, cardinals, fat chickadees. Your neighbors might come when they see what you've grown. They might want an anywhere farm of their own. might give them some seeds that they plant in a can, a carton, a washtub, an old frying pan, in a boat or a boot, or right in their yard. Anybody can do it. You've showed it's not hard. With your farm in a basket and mine on a chair, with soil and sunshine and water and care, one day all or anywhere farms anywhere might turn into. An everywhere farm, everywhere. Where does it all start? What do you need? Just one farmer, you, and one little seed. The end. All right, it's about time for me to go, but I had such a good time this evening with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about farms just as much as I did. Well, I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.